it can ring in my clients' ears, this phrase, it's all you, it's all you, it's all you. And when I say that, that has come with the understanding of often having really delved in and worked through a lot of trauma from the past, childhood trauma that has happened in childhood and then repeated itself again and again as somebody's gone through their life. So I wouldn't say that at the beginning, and this is where I think the truths that can set us free, which are essentially that it's all us and that we're responsible, and when we take full responsibility for our healing and our lives, everything changes. That doesn't work until we're at a stage of awareness and wholeness where we're not as traumatized by the trauma. Because of course, I've been working as a therapist and in front of people for my whole life. So yeah, ever since I was 18, I've been working with people, and then it evolved into working more deeply when I was 30, and I'm 65, so forever. And of course, I have been with people who've had huge childhood traumas, disasters, tragedies, abuse, all manner of things. And therefore, when somebody starts on the journey of wholeness, and starts on the journey to heal, and starts on a journey to live more happily, more freely, and we start to investigate what's happened before, then of course it isn't helpful in any way to go immediately to the place of it's all you, because that just utterly can often go in and wound somebody even more deeply, and ultimately deepen the pain, and ultimately not be a space where someone's in a position to properly share the things that have happened. And of course, these things have happened to them, and therefore as a little child and teenager and young person, of course it's not your fault. And that's the thing that I see that can be a confusion with a lot of the things that are said nowadays, which I believe are true, that ultimately we do need to take responsibility for our true wholeness and our true healing. But if it's said too quickly, and it's said as a off the out of context even, then it can be distressing and debilitating to people who are still in trauma and in pain from things that have happened to them. It's not very helpful. So I do think that we do need to have a big process, and if things are going wrong in our life and we've got patterns of distress or difficulties in relationship, or patterns of things that go in a cycle of things going wrong for us, then ultimately the first thing we have to do is notice that, and the first place of taking responsibility, in the first place of it recognizing that it is us who can do the healing, is to notice that we might have a repeated cycle of being in a relationship that's toxic or abusive, or we continually are criticized, or we continually have things not go well. Now I'm obviously working from the position of us healing, because thankfully lots of people lives that isn't going on, but for a lot of people it is. So I think the first thing to be able to know it's all us, and that we're the ones that can heal and become whole, is to notice that there are patterns, and that will often take us to start to investigate, and ideally it does. So investigate with somebody to go and talk it through with, or start reading or start watching these kind of things, and go, okay, I am in a pattern, and yes, I'm the victim in it, and yes, I keep getting into relationships where I'm treated badly, or I keep going into situations where it goes wrong. As I say, I'm talking about the place of where people need to heal, not necessarily when things are working, because they are patterns too, which is another conversation. But we first have to notice it, and then go and either get some help, which is always useful. But if you're not going to actually go and formally seek a therapist out, then it's important to start doing the self-investigation. And there are a lot of good books, a lot of, I can't remember the book now. Never mind. I often guide somebody to a book that I now can't remember. So there are lots and lots, and I think the resources out there are important to, and actually discover the ones that work for you, looking at investigating the wounds from the past, and recognizing that as a little child you were the victim and it wasn't your fault, but it can then be our responsibility to do the healing. And therefore often there's a process where it's important to get it all out, to really also grieve and cry the tears and feel the pain, and really have a safe space to do that. And that can be obviously with someone, or it can be giving yourself the space to go, okay, I'm going to do some inner work, I am going to read books, I am going to listen to podcasts, I am going to do it, but from the perspective that I'm going to learn about myself and my patterns, my processes in it, and how I internalize things. Because as a child we can internalize that we're not okay, we're not got permission to be ourselves, and families have all sorts of rules and regulations that might not necessarily suit us, and things are permitted in certain families and not permitted in other families, and that's all worth really investigating, to just see where we've obeyed the family rules, where we've perhaps pushed against family rules, what consequences we've had when we've done that, and what really do we want for ourselves. So all of that investigation, obviously you can do with a therapist, but you can also do by investigating. I think I can't remember the book that I was trying to tell you, but I will look it up and I'll put it in the description below. I recommend it to so many clients and I've completely forgotten it, but I will put the link to the book. It's about healing the childhood wounds. But another books that are very useful are the Harville, Hendrix and Helen Hunt. They've written books and they've created the imago relationship theory, and I think that they're useful even if you're single. There's different books for different stages of where you are in life, but it really investigates how the childhood wounding impacts on all our relationships. So there are books, there's Getting the Love You Want, there is Giving the Love That Heals, there's Keeping the Love You Find, I think that's one, but I can put the links. But all of those books are going from the position of the childhood wounding, and therefore we can understand where the pain has come from, and that will start to give us an understanding of where these patterns are playing out in our relationships, not just the ones where we choose to partner up with somebody in a love relationship, but in friendships and the children we have and the parents. And so I think that once there's been an awareness that there's cycles in life that aren't working, and once there's been an awareness to start to investigate it, and once there's been the space to really process the pain and feel the loss and the sadness and grieve and understand the place of the victim, because ultimately to move out of victim we need to take full responsibility. But that is a process, and then when we take full responsibility, and as I say, I work with my clients, and then there comes a point where they'll start to see that the pattern might repeat again, but they're the common denominator, and then they're ready for me to say it's all you, but only when there's been the grieving and the clearing and the awareness of what has gone on in the past, to bring you to the place of, all right, I'm ready to take responsibility. I'm ready fully to watch these patterns and see how I can shift them. And that's when I will, begin to really, really work with people on how they notice how they're the part of the pattern that recreates, and how that they're available for certain behaviours, and how, to really shift the patterns within them, shift the narrative, shift the feeling in the body, shift the psychological dramas, and move more and more and more to a place of wholeness.